This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Dennis will tell you where he's gone this week. Love to get your interpretation of that proverb.
Today we are in a country whose capital is Banjul.
Gambia.
That is Gambia. Yes. Beautiful country. When it comes to elections, they vote using pebbles, not the voters' paper, card, whatever. They use the traditional way of doing that, and that gets to elect their president. It is among the smallest countries in the continent by land mass, and has a population of 2.8 million people, not a quarter of what Nairobi is, one would say. But let's go to the proverb. It is the woman whose child has been eaten by a witch who best knows the evils of witchcraft. It is the woman whose child has been eaten by a witch who best knows the evils of witchcraft. Ladies, go first. How would you interpret it?
We'll use the shoe. It's the wearer of the shoe who knows where it pains the most. If you have lived it, then nobody can mislead you. You know what it is all about. If you have lived the Kenya big budgets announcement, you know what they bring.
You know what they mean.
Yeah.
Tom, how would you interpret it?
Until you experience it, you will not understand what it means.
Why? Well said, eh?
Indeed.
I know. I know.
Okay, let's experience this thing a little bit, shall we? 4.8 trillion shillings is what the budget looks like this year. The finance bill essentially is the fuel. Okay, I'm sorry to use that one because I know fuel is another issue. Yeah. But if the finance bill essentially is the fuel for this budget, right? It's one that's going to tell you this is where we're going to get all the money from. That's what the finance bill essentially is. But if we look at the budget, and perhaps you can tell us because you've done some heavy research, you've looked into the numbers, and we'll start with you, Diana. But I mean, we're looking at 4.82 trillion shilling total expenditure in the next financial year, which starts on the 1st of August. 1.11 trillion is the budget deficit. Means that the government is going to borrow 1.1 trillion shilling to meet budget. Debt servicing is about 1.5 trillion, consuming over 30%. So of this 4.8 trillion shillings, 30% of it is going towards paying debt.
Yes.
Right? Education remains the biggest beneficiary, continuing investment in CBC, universities, teacher funding, things like that. Infrastructure and transport, major allocations continue for roads, logistics, and energy projects under the government's growth strategy. These are numbers or forecasts that were given to them by the different departments. So they said, okay, you need this money? Put it into the budget. Why not? Okay. Healthcare, more funding targeted toward universal healthcare and hospital systems, trying to put those things in place. Agriculture and MSMEs. The Treasury says the budget supports food production, value addition, and small business financing under the Better Agenda. So somewhere in there, the Better Agenda is still ongoing. Energy and fuel pressure. Rise in global oil prices linked to Middle East tensions have forced government to temporarily reduce fuel VAT from 16 to 8%. But there's some major concerns that are being heard here. High debt burden. You should not be paying 30% of your total budget towards debt paying. Heavy borrowing. Still should not be borrowing 1.11 to meet budget deficit. Cost of living still high. While you look at the macro, the micro is being ignored. Development spending concerns. Treasury acknowledged and development expenditure is slightly below the Public Finance Management Act target. Do these things kind of make sense, Diana? And even as Tom is going to look at some of the numbers for us, when we're looking at this, is there a problem? It looks like everything is covered here.
Because there's no problem. We are a rich country. We can afford 4.82 trillion. That's our budget. Our cabinet secretary will read the budget in parliament when all the other ministers for East Africa read. And proudly we will say we have the biggest budget this year. Now, do we need 4.82 trillion? That is one of the big questions. And if you look at 2023, the budget was 3.7 trillion.
Yes.
In 2 years, we've needed to grow our budget by 1.1 trillion.
Yeah.
That's over 30% growth. That's the budget growth. What's the economic growth? Is it even double digit? No. Why is our budget growing by double digits while our growth and the benefits of social services, the relief of roads and things like that is not commensurate. You've rightly highlighted that one, our budget is a very good mix. 2.8 trillion, 2,800. Wacha tuende na hiyo hesabu. Our budget is 4,800. Do you understand a trillion?
No, let's use the
we use the 4,800. 2,800 goes to the executive. Okay? 1,500 goes to repay debt, interest, and to pay a bit of pension. 1,500. So you have 4,800. 2,800 has gone to the national government. You're left with 2,000. 1.5 goes to repay debt and 1,500.
So you have 500 remaining.
Yes. Then the rest of the budget, 400, goes to counties. How much do you have now?
100.
Then we give Parliament 50. Then we give the judiciary 30. That budget is over. So it may look very, very rosy, but essentially it just means that as we do that particular calculation, we've only calculated the interest, the debt interest repayment. The principal redemption is another 1,000. A trillion somewhere will need to be repaid in principal repayment. So when we say we have a 1,100 in deficit, it's not true. It's higher than that. How much do we, now that's the budget. That's our dream. But how much money are we saying we are going to raise? We are saying we are going to raise 3,600. 3.6 trillion.
If we manage to.
If we manage to, yes. And that particular revenue is a combination of what is coming from the taxes. We are also going to get appropriations in aid. Appropriations in aid is what you will pay when you're getting your title deed.
Okay.
We will now need to inspect cars every 4 years. NTSA, cars that are older than 4 years. The amount you will pay, that's appropriation in aid. We are proposing to increase e-citizen fees
from 50 to
100, things like that.
Okay.
We will, the cost of IDs, that's appropriation in aid. That cumulatively is what we hope to raise, 3,600 in revenue. Okay? Of that revenue, there are even grants inside. There are grants inside there. I'm just trying to get the exact breakdown. Some people will give us some little money. Some people will. Ordinary revenue for this year, we are expecting 2.9 trillion, 2,900. Then ministerial appropriation in aid, about 632. So in total, that's why we are saying 3,600. 3.6 trillion. 2023, our budget was 3.7 trillion. This year, we will raise 3.6 trillion and we will still have a deficit. Can we continue as a country budgeting with such a deficit?
Wait. In 2026, we are still unable to raise the budget for the country in 2023.
Yes.
Yet our budget has continued to increase every year.
Every year. And our revenue has grown every year as well. That somehow Kenyans pay more tax. Every year.
Yeah.
Every year, the finance bill raises our incomes in different ways to grow the revenue. The revenue is growing even as unemployment grows. So the few people who remain employed are carrying a heavier burden every day. When that happens, what's the reasonable thing to do? For our debt and our economy to become sustainable, we must pause. At that point, just think about it. You're in debt. The Shylock Ukona Sako, you have the bank, your neighbor's chama, and everybody else.
I'm sure.
Yes. When that happens, even if your house is leaking, can you first repair it?
Fix the thing first so that you stop the leak.
Exactly.
Okay.
But the priorities when you're in debt is immediately your lifestyle must change significantly, because you will even be offending the people who have lent you money. If you're in a village, you own a house, and you now have such a significant deficit, the first thing you do is you cannot build a new fence.
Okay.
You cannot build a new fence. You cannot say, I am planting new grass for children to play. No. All your revenue goes now to repaying debt. If your menu used to have minced meat and so on, that must change. You will now become a
Vegetarian.
Yes. Vegetarian is even, most probably you're headed for malnutrition. For you to survive. But what is our posture as a country? All is well. You people who have incomes will pay more for social health insurance. We're even saying for education, anybody who can pay should pay. The few people who cannot, we will pay for you. For now, we are planning, we are posturing as the people who can upgrade an airport, who can build the next biggest stadium in this country. Are those our priorities? As we do all that, do you know our malnutrition rate has gone up?
True.
We are at 36% of Kenyans are experiencing malnutrition. What should be your priority? Is our pride, our patriotism, our prestige as a country? Is it to be seen to have stadiums, to have good roads, or to make sure every single Kenyan is alive? And that can only be secured through food, health, education. So during this period of austerity, that is where our limited resources should be invested. It is a period where we must go down on infrastructure. But as Tom will tell you, part of this budget, all the budget for this year, you can be sure Ministry of Education will experience low budget implementation, and we will go crazy. Where hasn't the Ministry of Education absorbed their money? And the reason will be because there is not much procurement to benefit a few. That money will be delayed. Whereas the disbursement for infrastructure-heavy ministries like transport, like energy, those will have 100%, if not more than, budget implementation. Our priorities are lopsided.
I mean, Tom, Kenyans are asking a simple question. Which are some of the pinpoints, the concerns with the budget they should be looking out for? What has been added? Because like you've just pointed out, right? And unemployment continues to go down. The very few continues to go up. The very few who are still in the employment bracket continues to pay more. Which are these areas that the government is getting into, taking more to fund this budget?
Thank you.
That smile says a lot.
Thank you so much. Allow me to, because the government is trying to fund a lot of things at the same time. Actually, if you look at the budget, what the government is trying to do is the government is trying to increase budgets for almost every sector. Okay? But if you look at it keenly, you will realize that where that money is supposed to go to, or where Kenyans expect money to go to, it is not headed that direction. Because, for instance, I was just trying to look at how allocations have been done in the executive offices or the top offices. You look at the likes of the State House, the Executive Office of the President, Office of the Deputy President, and the Prime CS. Then you will see significant movements towards the direction. And to some extent, I want to believe it is to justify what we've seen in the implementation of the 2025-2026 budget, which went extremely high. For instance, when we saw State House budget increasing from 8 billion to 17 billion, close to 18 billion. But if you look at what has been done in this current budget, you will see, they will tell you that now we listened to what Kenyans were saying, and we've tried reducing that in the budget estimates that we proposed. But still, it is 5 billion more than what was passed in for 2025-2026. Currently, State House is planning 13 billion. Okay. And you see that movement, you go to the office of the DP, you will see the same things. And that tells you a lot of things. Then I know someone here will say, but education has got, is the highest, is funded by the highest margin, 781 billion. How can you say we are not prioritizing where Kenyans' interests are? Then you look at the education budget, you realize TSC has been allocated 422 billion of that budget. That is more than 50%. Then if you look at what that amount is, the 422, it is supposed to go to salaries.
And
all of it.
recurrent expenditure.
Expenditure.
Okay.
Actually, it is 420 something going to recurrent expenditure. Then leaving around 700 million for development. That
across
is,
education?
That is, yes, TSC. That is TSC alone, because it is what is taking the bigger chunk of that money.
Yeah.
Then you ask, who is this 422 billion going to pay? Because if you look at that budget, we were told in the budget policy statement that the government is prioritizing recruiting 30,000 teachers. Then you look at what is in the budget, you're being told that only 20,000 intern teachers are going to be absorbed into permanent and pensionable. Then 6,000 more are going to be promoted teachers. Then you ask yourselves, we ask ourselves, the 30,000 who we were promised to be absorbed or to be recruited, where are they? Okay? So those are some of the gaps. You cannot see them if you don't go deeply into what is there. Because if you look at again at the current student to teacher ratio, it is alarming. And if you look at what is being proposed by, according to the gaps that were being given by the TSC themselves and the ministry, they were saying we need like 100,000 more teachers. We should recruit 100,000 more teachers. Then in the budget policy statement, they said we will recruit 30,000. But now they're recruiting 20,000.
Okay.
Yes.
Just to go back a little bit, just for clarification purposes. So the budget process starts on around the 30th of August, and then it takes us through until April, when now you're told, okay, well, the finance bill is out.
Yes.
So all of these things that we are talking about, education, agriculture, whatever, that is how much the government wants to spend in the next financial year. Now, what the finance bill does is that it stipulates then where they're going to get the money for this budget, isn't it?
The additional money.
Yes, that extra money they're looking for.
Yes.
So that's why when they come and tell you that there will be an increased tax on you sending money. So they're going to gather up all the money that they get from that, and they're going to put it into this big basket. And then some of that will go to education, some of that will go to agriculture, some of that will go to whatever. So the finance bill basically is demarcating where there's going to be an extra tax here and there so that we know this is what KRA then is able to collect.
Yeah.
That's how we get to the 3.6 trillion. The 1.1 trillion is now that money that KRA will not be able to get. They cannot tax you anymore because there's nothing left. But they'll say now that is the money that we're now going to go and borrow. So that's why we say the finance bill is the fuel of the budget, because that is where you will get the money from to then activate this thing. That's why it's important for you to understand why they say public participation on the finance bill, because you can go and say, excuse me, there's nothing left for you to come and tax. Where are you going to get it from, essentially? Now, help me understand. If in the previous budget, as absorption was low, what we are talking about? And number two, if absorption is low on a previous budget, why would you increase it? Why would you increase your budget numbers on the next one if you are not able to absorb properly on the last one?
Let's clarify. The absorption is not low. It is low because of delayed disbursements.
And that money is available?
No.
Why is the money delayed?
The money delays because first you must pay debt.
All right.
Okay.
So the minute you pay debt, there is very little. But secondly, because you must first pay ministries that procure. And procurement is very good. You know, procurement is very good because people plan for it. People in power plan for procurement. They plan to procure 106 billion SHA system. A system, a digital one.
Yeah.
Then they tell us we have a deficit. Therefore, we sell Kenya Pipeline Corporation for 103, 106. There. A whole infrastructure with land and so on, you can't compare. So that's the second reason, that disbursements first go to ministries that have a lot of procurement. Ministries that are around social services, education, principals every day are scratching their head. They don't know, how will I feed these children? Where will I get textbook, exercise books? They will get the capitation for this year. First, right now they've gotten the
first term is complete.
Yes.
Yeah.
Second term, okay.
Yeah, they are not sure.
Yeah.
Most of the money comes that term there. So
if it is complete.
yes.
Okay.
So when we do the analysis of budget implementation and absorption, it will look like education is low, but it is the disbursement.
Okay.
Counties also face a similar challenge because they will be allocated the 420 billion, but the money will delay before it hits their account. Sometimes they will flex, the Council of Governors will speak, and the money will come sooner. Again, in the counties, once the money hits their account, what does it do first? It pays salaries. Before it can then go to resource, medical facilities, resource, agricultural extension services. Things that Mwananchi needs are always the last priority. So
And it should be the
other way
round.
You know, we keep saying we the people, we the people. Where are we? Where is we the people in this budget?
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I have to. We don't know, so
Yes.
we want to understand.
Yes.
Because then it helps us to then be more active. If we are saying is there a rule that you have to stick to the budget in Kenya?
Yes.
It's a law.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, you've also said that education, 704 billion shillings, right? It was a little less. Tom.
781.
781 billion shillings for 2026.
Yes.
What was it in 2025?
In 2025, 2026, it was 701. 701.
That is that's where my
Yes,
head was.
yes.
701 billion shillings. We know for a fact that by the time third term rolled around for 2025, that there was a deficit of 4,031 shillings per child.
Per child, yes.
Per child. So if you have to stick to the budget, can you see where I'm going?
Yeah.
And you didn't give them this money, and you have the finance bill which became an act, and you have the appropriations bill where they now go and sit down and say, okay, so now let's share the cow, right? If the money didn't get to where you have said, and you've said that we have to follow the budget, where does that money go?
Where does?
I'll allude to what Diana said. You know, just using the education example, I think it was this month when the Ministry of Education gave us a circular that they were releasing money for textbooks, 95 shillings per child. We remember?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, 95 shillings. Then we are saying there are some deficit, but we ideally when we look at the budget, there was an allocation. Okay? Then we ask ourselves, where is the money going? When we look at our constitution, the first thing that we should fund using our budget is our national interests, where education, health, and the key service areas should be a priority. Okay? But then after that, the number two thing is the public debt. Okay? But ideally what is happening in our country or with our government is the first thing that we do before we finance our national interest is the public debt. So if you ask where that money is going into debt payment. Okay? So after the debt has been prioritized, it has been number one, it has been made number one, the biggest priority. Then now the government will stand and start looking, where can we get the extra money now, or money to take to education, to take to health, and to take to counties. And that is where the problem begins.
So that means
Yes.
the critical areas that the government should be focusing on, that is Mwananchi-centered, which is critical to the country, is the second option after we've paid the debt.
Yes.
But I want to look at, Diana, if you look at the way budget policy statement is created and all that, is because we are, correct me if I'm wrong as I build up to it, we have this money and it will be used to, say, fund education. This is the money. We will use X amount to build the roads, the schools. We'll use these to build the stadia and everything else. It is well stipulated on what that money would do. So therefore, when we find that later in the year, after the budget policy has been passed, that someone stood somewhere and said, you know what, nitawatengenezea swimming pool here, yet it was not in the budget. At that particular point, are we going against the budget that we passed? And how does that then hurt Mwananchi or stop Mwananchi from benefiting from these taxes they've paid, say, in funding education, healthcare, critical things that should benefit Mwananchi?
One, when the budget process starts in August, all sectors go and give their input.
Yes.
Now, very few people say remove this because everybody roots for their area. We need roads. The education sector says we need, and we have a certain attitude of add. Then, in my opinion, I also think how we make our budget is problematic because after the sector hearings with different ministry, Treasury comes together. They attempt to strike off, this is too ambitious and so on. But nobody goes into the historical books. So if I put in a line that I need, let's call ourselves Office of the Citizen.
Yes.
Office of the Citizen needs makeup. And we put that line in 2012, it will never be removed. And it will keep being increased for inflation. But when we look at it, we no longer need makeup. What is the occasion for the Office of the Citizen? Maybe the Office of the Citizen needs shoes. that level of discussion and analysis of the budget does not happen, despite the process, the fact that we have a very elaborate process. Thereafter, Parliament is given the budget. When the budget is given to them, it goes to the various departmental committees. So like the education one always increases and has a way of rallying Kenyans. Watoto wetu. So the budget goes up. The health one increases and so on. We leave it at that, genuinely. And there's a level of, there's a need that informs the increase. But deep down, the technocrats know what we must pay is this debt, and then immediately, whatever the president prioritizes will take precedent. Somehow. Now, we made a mistake of saying that the Cabinet Secretary for Treasury can authorize a variation, a 10% variation in the budget. This is a 10%, 4.8 trillion.
Yep.
Yeah.
480 billion.
480 billion, yeah.
They can vary that. Other than education and debt, there is nothing else, no other expenditure in this budget that is 480 billion. The variation that the Cabinet Secretary can make. But is it the Cabinet Secretary who varies? No. It is State House that varies the budget. So they do first supplementary, they vary. At 10%. They do the second one, they vary. That is why the president can make all these pronouncements on the go and we deviate. Then thereafter...
Okay, sorry.
Today.
See now, finally.
Finally.
Because we often ask the question,
Yes.
if I'm sorry to interrupt, please hold on to that thought so that we can now connect and move forward. But then we often wonder, if the nation has a budget-making arm, which is Parliament, then goes on to make the law, and we don't hear these things because, I mean, the painstaking job of reading and looking through the numbers, like the way TISA does and other stakeholders, it's a lot of work to look through the fine lines. But I don't know that you would then be able to find a fence that would cost, I don't know, however many billion. That would be up by July in that, because that's what, when you do a budget, you have to do the lines, the nitty-gritty of how much you're going to spend and what you're going to spend on it. So we're often left to wonder when somebody says, we will build a road that's going to cost whatever, and this how much it's going to cost, and we're going to do it, but we didn't hear it mentioned. So now,
makes sense.
The variance, if what I'm getting you say, the variance is what leaves some extra money in the kitty for then me to come and say, well, you have had a problem with classrooms, have 20 million, like that, and we can go ahead doing things like that.
Yes.
So it is money that has been budgeted for, but it is not, doesn't have a line. Is that what we are saying?
It has a line, but we left a leeway for a 10% variation. I've given you the cumulative.
Okay.
If you varied the education budget, you have 70 billion to throw around, to toss around.
Yes.
And that, it is abused because that variation is only allowed for unexpected, unforeseen.
Like COVID. Okay.
A major disaster.
Flooding.
Right. That is the only time we are allowed that type of variation. We didn't anticipate as a country we will go to war. We've gone to war. But for us,
That's
always...
That's an example.
It's an example,
Okay,
sorry.
thanks.
It's
Okay.
a very... It's completely unforeseen. But our unforeseen is usually we needed empowerment of youth every weekend in church. We vary a budget.
We need to construct a new church.
Yes, we need a new church. We need to announce to launch a new road. We vary the budget. And all that is expected is the Cabinet Secretary comes and explains themselves to Parliament. Oh, we varied a budget by this much. Please approve. And that is what results in supplementary appropriation.
Diana, even as we talk about the supplementaries, do we go detail by detail on what these variations would be going to do, or is it open source?
Tom analyzes supplementary budget every time and annoys us. Makes us get potential.
So it is what happens is very simple, because simple on paper, but it is really technical.
Okay.
Because what you will get to see is, or even in the parliament, what they will get to see, they will be given lines that are already spent. When we said, for instance, that State House budget increased from 13 billion, no, from 8 billion to 17.9 billion. Okay?
Double.
That is
100%.
Yes, 100% increase. So, what Parliament is going to have is a figure that has already been spent by State House. Okay? Then now you need to ask yourself.
Sorry.
Yes.
You said it.
I know.
You said it has already been spent. It has
Yes.
been spent. Then come and say approve.
Yes,
I know
approve.
there's an allowance for something like that, whereby they can come and say, okay, well, we spent this money without parliamentary approval, but we can then come back and say, okay, well, here's the explanation. There's some leeway for that.
Yes.
Is this what you're talking about?
Yes.
All right. Okay.
Yes. So they come and say, this is how it has gone. Now you ask yourself. They will not provide that explanation. You will have to go and dig it yourself from the budget books. How was this used?
And Parliament should be asking this question.
Yes.
They should be asking.
Okay.
That is their mandate.
All right.
So then when you go to the books, you want to see how was this money reallocated? How was it used? Then you realized one of the things that really consumed money was domestic travels. And when you try to see, it was the maybe president going there, here and there, going to maybe launch a road, maybe going to launch a Nyota program somewhere, or the DP going to some Harambe somewhere.
8 million a day.
Yes,
Chopper.
yes, that one for Chopper. And you look at those lines, and you see those are actually where the money went to. There was nothing constructive.
So,
Yes.
is it possible
Yes.
that these variances that we are talking about, whereby there was a chopper ride here, there was, whatever it is the case, that if you put all this money together over time, is it possible that the amount of external, or whether it's external or domestic debt that you then take on would reduce?
Without a doubt.
Okay.
Without a doubt. Add this. Under Uhuru, we used to lose 2 billion
A day.
a day. Our deficit during that period was that 2 billion that we lose. Okay? Under Kenya Kwanza, we were losing 3 billion a day. Times 365,
My calculator.
times 364 is a trillion.
Trillion, yes.
And that's the
That's the deficit.
Yes, that's the deficit.
So most of the money is stolen or misappropriated. We don't need, the deficit we have is a budget padded so that they can take away, they can steal from it.
It's the things that Jiro Gikonyo used to call budgeted corruption.
Corruption, properly.
Right.
It's the budgeted corruption that is now properly legislated. It will be procured out into contracts. And remember, this is the pain of this debt. The 3 billion we will lose to corruption. But the 900 billion that we are repaying in debt, we are paying local banks. Who owns these local banks? Who are the majority shareholders? How comes nearly every person who becomes a president owns a bank? And treasury bills and bonds have been what percent? 15. This is the first time they are 8-9%. Even the China debt we complain about is 2%. That is what we repay.
Yeah.
But we repay our political elite. The money they lend us, 15%. And it has to be a priority. So when we are saying debt is a priority and people can starve to death, we are saying we must pay. Most of the people who are not entrepreneurs who can give us a talk on how to make money, become rich and inspire people. It is people who have taken our money through sweat and blood
Wait.
Oh, debt.
Diana.
It-
When we were younger, we had to learn via rote.
Yes.
We repeat. So I'm sorry. So domestic debt takes up the majority percent of what Kenya owes. True? False?
Currently.
At the
Yes.
moment,
Yes.
domestic debt.
Yes.
And it's a nice word, but domestic debt, essentially what you're saying is that you're borrowing from local financial institutions.
Yes.
Now, there's a demand 8% vis-a-vis 2% to China. So the amount it's a more expensive loan.
Yes.
Domestic debt is more expensive than external debt. But there is an appetite for domestic debt. Why is that? But remember that the 1.1 trillion is what Kenya owes, not will owe, owes. That's
It's due.
It's due.
It's due.
Okay?
Overall, we owe 12.8.
Overall, 12.8 trillion.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then, but what we are saying now in this budget, are we? I don't know if it's me who's not. That's why we are. That's
Yes.
why you're here. On this 4.82 trillion, already 1.1 trillion is money that you're going to borrow.
Yes.
And what we are saying, he'll read it come July 1st or whatever, June 30th, that we will get from the domestic, those nice words, we will borrow from the domestic market, etc., percentage, whatever. But we already know that the larger payment comes in interest. And there is a difference of about 6% in terms of the interest that you will pay. So are we saying it makes sense to borrow externally if must than it does to borrow internally?
We must start borrowing externally. We don't like borrowing. Currently, we are not borrowing as much externally. One, because sadly, the IMF we dislike, we behaved so badly. We are not looking good on the international front. So we can no longer go to the international market. Why? Because our IMF program that is supposed to ensure we reduce expenditure, we are disciplined, all targets nearly collapsed, the main ones. I think the one for marshalling dollars, the reserves in the central bank, that one was successful. But secondly, they come with conditions. Most of the external debt comes with certain conditions, and some of them are governance related. Right now, we don't want that discipline of governance-related conditions. But secondly, we don't control the external market, but we do control the domestic market for banks, for insurance, for pension firms, and so on. This year, as we plan to borrow 1.2, we'll take 900 billion. In an economy that requires that money to be pumped into businesses, into local industries. My bank agent no longer calls me, who has a pay slip. I am such a liability. They don't know whether I'll have a contract next year. All they do is every day you're waiting for the next treasury bill, the next treasury bond. And based on that, imagine, look at 8 top CEOs of banks. They got how much in bonuses?
Yes.
800 million, 817 million, thereabout. 8.
Yeah.
8.
Not
Those
the
are-
bank, the individual.
The individuals.
Okay.
Yes.
How much did our banks make? Yet even the Kenya Bankers Association is like, their morality is kicking in. They are telling government, please, we can't lend you. Allow us to lend to the people.
MSMEs, the ones, the builders of the economy.
Exactly.
Okay.
And if you don't build that economy, there will be nobody to pay tax.
Tom,
Yes.
Yeah.
Tom, I want to look at the debt question as we talk. There is external debt.
Yes.
There is internal debt that is to the financial institutions. But in our books, do we have pending bills as debt that is recognized by the books? Do we have debt that is owed to schools, debt that is owed to health institutions as debt? And in the question of variations, do we have these variations across ministries and other agencies as well, or is it just restricted to the executive?
That is the issue of pending bills. Shock on you or shock on us. Pending bills, when we are calculating our debt, it is not. It has not been included.
Should it?
It should be.
Because it's debt?
Yes.
Okay.
It should be. But as at now, pending bills are not included in the debt. The numbers you are seeing, the 12.8 trillion that we were talking about here as our total domestic public debt,
yeah.
It is not there. When you look at the interest payment that has been mooted here of 1.1 that we are going to pay, it is not part of that. And you know, according to the pending bills verification committee that was constituted by the president himself, as I think they've in their verification up to now, they are saying there is around 800 billion in pending bills that we have, and it has been distributed both at the national and at the county level, okay? Mm-hmm. And at the national level, we have the MDS ministries, department and state agencies where these are, these pending bills. So this is a very big issue, and I want to link it to the conversation on the domestic debt, because it is really crippling how money is circulating in our economy. Because someone or a supplier who went to supply government, what did they do? They went and borrowed from a bank to provide services to government. Then the government has stayed with that money for more than 1 year without paying them. Some of them, they've been auctioned by the banks they borrowed from. These are people who are now getting out of business. And we are definitely, in one way or the other, we are losing taxpayers. We are losing employment. These people there are people who are being employed, okay? The people who are being employed. And this is seriously affecting the economy, both at the national level and at the county level. So you see how it is crippling both sides, both the devolution and at the national level. And that is what I can say about the pending bills and how it keeps on.
And the variations, are we seeing, do ministries and agencies as well spend in these variations as well, or is it just on executive?
The supplementary appropriation will cut across. They will pick from each of the ministries. So there are variations everywhere. It's a kitty for everybody. Like a strong ping pong, pick from here, pick from here. So by the time you aggregate to get the picture of what is happening, that is when the shock hits you. And we have, is it 500 billion of pending bills? Thereabout.
Yes.
That is not included in the domestic debt. So we are at 12.8. Add half a trillion, we are at 13.3.
Yeah.
Then there is a contingent liability, guaranteed debt.
Yeah. Yes.
Kenya Airways, you need a loan, we guarantee you. KPLC, you need a loan, we guarantee you. We government, rich people. So we've guaranteed very many. Right now they are called government-owned.
State-owned enterprises.
State-owned enterprises.
Yes.
But they're also now moving to GOES, the new act that was passed that is going to lead the privatization process. The National Infrastructure Fund.
Wait. Okay, you know why I'm saying you hold? Because I am going to beg you, please, just give us some minutes after we go to the news. We were supposed to use this till 9 o'clock. Okay. But it is too important what you've said, especially vis-a-vis the budget, to leave this out. Please give us 10 minutes after the break. Let's go to the news. We'll come back. Take a Panadol if your head hurts, because you might need it. Good morning.
Spice up your life. The latest news from this is the Situation Room. The only
must go up. So that is what the National Infrastructure Fund is going to do. Within that, the government will guarantee any loans that they take. If they are not paid, that debt becomes ours. But because we really need money to go there, I feel like it's wash. In the finance bill, in the finance bill, people who are going to invest in the National Infrastructure Fund, those ones are not paying tax. That money is not being taxed. It's there. Yeah, if you're coming to invest.
Okay.
Yeah, money that is being invested, those ones, we are forgiving them.
Okay.
Yeah, then they come, they invest, then they charge us, and then we continue. Okay, so I needed to clarify that our debt includes the amount of money we'll guarantee the National Infrastructure Fund. If they enact the National Sovereign Wealth Fund as well, that fund will be guaranteed by us. And do you know how many funds we have as a country? Where we just set aside money, we are rich. 75 funds. Why do we need 75 funds that we can barely track? Now, the debt is 12.8. We had gotten to 13.3. We've not added the guaranteed debt of KQ and many others. Securitization is debt. The money we've borrowed using the tourism levy. The money we are using the road levy. That is why we cannot even go out of our way to stabilize fuel, because title deed imeshikwa, but it's not in the official debt register.
And how do you know this, Diana? Because, there'll be those who say, okay, well, Diana and Tisa and Tom have looked at the numbers, and the only thing that it sounds like it's a grand heist. Is this in the numbers?
Yes.
So you can make this assertion based on the numbers that you see, which are public.
Yeah, the public 12.8 securitization is not part of it.
Yeah.
And the securitization data, all of it has not been put forward. We know of a few areas where it has been used. We believe most of the levies have gone to securitization. We are still investigating what is the coffee levy doing? What is the sugar levy doing? All those levies, and what that means is whether we elect President Ruto 2027 or not, the person who comes has no money to utilize because we mortgaged a levy. And a levy is set aside for special development purposes to grow our tourism. Sugar levy to support the sugarcane sector.
Maintain our roads.
Yes, but we have deviated from that. We've been warned because based on where our debt is, we need to restructure. That debt is not sustainable. People cannot die so that we pay debt. No. Historically, when that happens, you have to restructure. But Kenya debt will be very difficult to restructure.
Why?
Because we have bonds, we have bilateral debt. Then there are people who are at a special level of a category because then they have title deed, the securitization. So our process will be longer and more painful. When that happens, the pain in Kenyan homes will be tougher. Yet we are here with so much braggadocio, acting like we are the ones who know how to play the debt book. We've really been misused badly. Our debt is so high. And please add, we are now at 12.8. We have a deficit of 1.1. Tom tells me that always, you know what, when we are budgeting, where we are always in a deficit, even by the time we say we will raise 3.6, we will not. We will raise 3.4. But we must show we will raise a lot so that people allow us to mouth the budget of 4.8 trillion. So our deficit will be higher. Next year, when you call us here, we will tell you the official debt book is 14 trillion. Why? And you people are telling us, analyze. If you have 1 million, you spend 10,000 a day. You finish it in 3 months. If you have 1 billion, you spend 10,000 every day. You use it for 274 years. Huh? That is what a billion is. 1 trillion. Even Jesus has not lived for how long you can use 1 trillion if you're using 10,000 a day.
I mean, and you see, Diana, as we speak, then we look at extra debt that has not been included into that registry, and we are speaking about 15 or so. So that means moving forward, then, Tom, if to restructure our debt is very difficult, that would mean the government in one way or the other will have to tax Kenyans even more. So Kenyans should get ready for higher taxes, because where we find ourselves, our title deeds have gone, we're being mortgaged. But that notwithstanding, I still go back to these variations that we see. From where I sit, is these are just political tools for individuals to do their politics, if you ask me. It is not meant to benefit Monanchi in any way.
I'll agree with that statement. Why? Because if you are borrowing, in our constitution, you should borrow to develop, to do development. That is the only provision that has been given for borrowing in the constitution. Let me give you an example. Our deficit right now, okay, is 1.1.
On this year's, but on this one that's coming up for reading, okay.
And the deficit is 1.1. And our development expenditure, total development expenditure, is 749 billion.
Sorry, just becoming slowly, I beg.
Yes.
This year.
This year.
Okay, so there's a deficit of 1.1 trillion.
Then
the amount that has been allocated for development, and when we say development, we're talking about infrastructure, building of roads, schools, etc.
Some of it can even go to education.
Yes.
All right, 749 billion.
749,
Okay.
thereabouts.
Sorry.
Yeah. Then we want to borrow 1.1 trillion. So, from the word go, there is around 400 billion that we are going to borrow, but it is not going to
Development.
It is not going to development. Take, for instance, also, how much are we going to borrow domestically? It is 995 billion. That is still more than what we are going to use for development.
Yeah.
So it means there is a component of borrowing we are going to go into that is not supporting development. It is going to support recurrent expenditure. It will be going to other people's pockets.
But isn't there a clause that allows you to borrow for short term, and I think the term is 90 days, 3 months, that allows you to meet a budget shortfall?
Yes.
And in that case, that's what this is, isn't it?
Shortfall of 500 billion, and then remember the supplementary budget and what we do with it. But you know, I can see the extra appropriation has gotten to you. This is what it means. The president has gone to a number of schools. Has he gone to girls' schools, by the way?
Yes. There was.
One.
There was an unfortunate incident where a young girl actually had a small accident. That was a couple of months, but he has gone to girls' schools.
Girls' schools.
Yes.
But I have followed more the boys' school. And the boys' schools are Alliance, Kapsabet, Njiris. Njiris is in my village. We were very happy. No, we were not. But not for me, I am not. Those are very big schools. He went to Alliance and promised 500 million. It can be gotten from the education kitty. Okay? But the budgeting process is to ensure equitable distribution of the 700 billion. And after the teachers, it's about 200 billion. So you've already taken 500 million and given it to Alliance, one of the most prestigious schools with the strongest alumni, with the best infrastructure in this country. That is where you're going to hand presidential goodies. You move from there, Kapsabet, another very well-equipped school. Njiris, a very well-equipped school. Then based on that, we will do a supplementary budget to vary the lines in the Ministry of Education. Then thereafter, Spice KTN, you will come and report to us in a very depressing way that a school in Tana River, children were devoured by crocodiles. Why? Because their classrooms are very near the river. But those have not been allocated. Supplementary budgets are immoral. They need to be stopped by all means. And every year, the Auditor General flags them.
But
there's a lot of push and pull between controller of budget whenever that office is approving supplementary appropriation, because it's never, ever justified.
Who is approving? This is the question here. Because how do you say that something must be stopped? Who is approving? There's an entire battalion of folks who sit at the Treasury, Tom, who are the ones who are crunching the numbers from August. But somebody says, okay, fine, go ahead and spend. Is it that they're not looking at the fine lines, the nitty-gritty? Because all of this is there. It is there. It's not hidden. Or maybe they say some of the best ways to hide something is just put it there. Put it in plain sight.
It's the executive wallet.
Who is saying go ahead to do this?
So it's a directive. It's an executive wallet. that Treasury is the lapdog that effects it, and then Parliament that ought to stop it forever, strengthen the controller of budget not to authorize it ever, decides, actually, the president needs this, they need this. That's where we keep losing it. Expenditure. We were supposed to start zero-based budgeting this year.
What does that mean for those of us who are at the back of the class?
Zero-based budgeting means we have budget books that are pre-filled. We only tweak a few things. It's very difficult to add a new budget line. And historically, there are lines, like I said, there are lines that we should just do away with. Tom, you said we pay pension for people, UK people who worked here during the colonial period. We pay pension. Okay? So some of these lines, we need a new book to start.
You guys have taken us to UK now.
For Kenyans in the UK.
Yes, so when you hear our expenditure,
Tom
our
said
debt
no.
is...
Not Kenyans.
For the colonialists.
No, colonialists.
Who worked here.
Those who worked here.
It's something that used to happen.
Or does it still happen?
It is still
There's
happening.
39 million.
39 million every financial year being allocated to
Is
them.
this somewhere? Is it written somewhere?
Yes.
39 million shillings every year is going to pay non-Kenyans pension for the work they did in Kenya during the colonial times.
Colonizing us. We are very good.
This is happening as we speak.
Yes. By the way, we do not have any problems. We should not be paying more tax. We just need to be given the new budget book. We write it. Salaries. How many workers do we need?
No, sorry. Where is this thing written that 39 million shillings is going to pay people who are not Kenyans their pension?
It's in the budget book. It's part of the pension and the funds.
Yes.
Right now, by the way, this year, and we'll post it on our website, www.tisa.co.ke, Okoa Uchumi. Look for it. We'll analyze for you. We cannot just keep saying we won't pay. We must show them why we will not pay additional taxes. We cannot continue. And the worst thing is, these people, they play with our mind so much. So every ministry has a parastatal.
Yeah.
We will give you the analysis. So let me use like the the Attorney General. They have several parastatal. Kenya Law Reform Commission. That one, they have their own budget. So we tell them, don't buy a car here. The parastatal ends up buying the car for them. And that is still Kenya taxpayers' money. Their debt is guaranteed. Everything the parastatal does, the ministry could do.
Yeah.
Let's not even go back to the advisors who the Attorney General has led the country in appealing to ensure that they stay.
Yeah.
Advisors where those things are. So don't say we will pay more. The government only does what we citizens allow them to do. So if we allow them to tax us more, they will continue to enrich themselves as we get poorer, get malnourished.
Tom.
Yes.
I want to ask the question.
Yes.
We have been told time without number that the government of Kenya will implement austerity measures. That because you guys decided to throw out Finance Bill 2024, we will tighten our belts and see how we will not spend so that money remains here and you're able to fund the budget. Wananchi, I'll read for you what they're saying. While Wananchi are tightening their belts literally, the political class are tightening Gucci belts. Is that the situation?
I think that is an understatement. Because if you look at the wristwatches the politicians are putting on, the shoes that they have, the suits they have, those are not signs of austerity. If you look at, Dana just talked of the parastatals, the funds that we are creating. These funds that we are creating, they come with staff, office costs, okay? Office costs. And those are additional costs. When you go to Office of the President, advisors, they are all over. And by the way, I looked at those items. Each and every one has got general administration cost. Okay? General administration cost. Then we also see things like how do we call it? How do we call this? There is hospitality costs. Each and every single line. Those are the chais and mandazis that we are talking about. Okay? And that tells you that the government, actually, they are not concerned about. They want to create jobs for their friends and their families and their boyfriends, their girlfriends. They have to find a way of accommodating them just to ensure that 2027 they're safe, comfortable, but not in the lens of a common mwananchi. Because let me ask you, why would you have I know this one, people will say different, they will have different opinions. Why would we be paying the office of the former prime minister? Why would we still budget for his salary?
It's there in this budget.
It is in 2025, 2026, we have a supplementary. So it means up to the end of this financial year, we are planning for his salary and all those. A whole 8 million.
Maybe in the realization that, obviously because the person in question is deceased, they will roll back on that.
Not yet.
No?
Not yes.
So where would that money go? If it's obvious that the individual, by natural attrition is not there, then shouldn't that money then, because you can relook your budget, you can.
So that is what Diana is saying, that ideally we've not, zero-based budgeting is still on paper. It has not been implemented because one of the things it was supposed to do, it was supposed to help us with the austerity, okay, in terms of unnecessary government expenditures. And that one we are not seeing happening. I've just pointed you to just one line, okay? Because at this point, why am I justifying that there's no zero-based budgeting? The Ministry of Education, they wanted to do laboratories and workshops, equipment for special needs in TVETs, for example. Mm-hmm. Do you know what has been budgeted for? Mm-mm. They've budgeted for dining halls. Why are they budgeting for dining halls when the ministry wanted laboratories?
People must eat well.
So it tells you someone went to the previous template and just pasted numbers there. Mm. They did not do. So we can justify that it is not happening. Mm. So what we are seeing, today is our government is not. By the way, this is the most unequal budget that we are going to see. It is going to bring serious inequality in the country. Serious inequality.
Okay. So, looking at the numbers, and of course, if we look at what's happening today being the final day that folks can give their submissions in terms of public participation towards the finance bill, which we understand that we don't, if we look at the funds essentially that we put in a basket is what is then demarcated in the finance bill. That's how now you see that, just for example, that there will be a 5% increased tax on whatever, mm-hmm. that it'll cost you a little bit more to send money.
Yes.
That it'll cost you a little bit more to buy a mobile device, things like that. Now, that money is what is going to go and fund all of this budget that we're talking about.
It is what will fund this luxury.
The excess.
Yes, it is
excess.
Funding. We are being taxed more to fund luxury.
So now when folks come and say then, Diana, mm-hmm. reject the finance bill, does it make some sense? If there's coming from the understanding that the finance bill, from what you're saying, and of course if we look into the numbers then maybe we'd be able to establish that further, are they justified in the call to reject it? Or are there not some things that you can actually look into the finance bill and say it makes sense?
In the finance bill, it's largely, it was supposed to be about cleaning tax administration, mm-hmm. making it neat. Mm-hmm. But because we needed to raise more revenue, we've gone to adding value-added tax mm-hmm. for sending money. Mm. Okay? Mm-hmm. So we are a digital economy. The minute you add 16%, gosh,
there's no value. What value to you, apart from the thing that you are purchasing when you send money, is there that you would have to then add VAT on that procedure?
And yet, already, there are enough taxes. Yeah. When you pay for your RTGS 500, 600, there's enough money that is being raised in that particular sector. but we decide we need to charge merchant fee. Okay, the finance bill this year has increased the number of commodities, especially in the agriculture and the pharmaceutical sectors that are either zero rated or VAT exempt.
Okay.
So an attempt to grow that particular sector. But the Kenya Revenue Authority, they wanted to become Kenya Revenue Service.
Yes.
Will become the Kenya Revenue Command. Like set aside authority. Authority, you can even negotiate. Command. They will be commanding algorithm. Their system will assess you. You do not self-assess yourself for tax, as has been the norm. And they will surveil us on every particular front.
Yeah.
They have tried that since 2023. So when we say, are there good clauses? Yes, there are good clauses in the finance bill. Why do we say reject a finance bill? What we are saying is reject new revenue. Reject new revenue because we do not have a revenue problem. Go fix the expenditure, go fix the theft, go fix the wastage, then come and we have the conversation. This year, even MPs are saying, please, we cannot work with a 4.82 trillion budget. It is time to rethink. Because you can feed a monster, but you realize the monster is coming to eat you. So I'm sure even the MPs who keep sending handouts, the handouts now are meaningless. So it is time to reset all that. It is therefore, and that is what, and I hope you can help us push the country in that direction. We must begin the conversation of what is a reasonable budget. What is proper expenditure that Kenyans approve and are okay with. They are they look small. And when we tell it to the MPs, I don't know, it's because they are rich. You see, like the judiciary, we give the judges a car. All judges have a taxpayers-driven car.
Yes.
Fueled and driven. The driver is paid by taxpayers. The car is paid by taxpayers 24/7 to safeguard the independence of the judiciary.
Yes.
But in addition to that, we give them a car, a personal car, 10 million every 4 years. Okay. We just passed their retirement benefits, and upon retirement, every judge gets a car grant.
All judges?
Yes, when they retire, they will be getting that moving forward. That's not austerity. We love you. We love that you safeguarded justice. But justice must also be in the context of the country that we are living in. At retirement, that can't be the benefits that Parliament approves. When other people retire, immediately they are dying because they will no longer afford healthcare. People retire in debt.
Government isn't paying their pension.
Their pension already. And these are the types of perks we want. The minute you approve that for the judiciary, it's the same thing we'll approve for members of Parliament.
There's nobody that will be left out.
Everybody. And it's just the upper levels of the public service that will benefit. Why are we enriching people who already had good salaries, who had good housing allowance, to be the ones who take away? So when this budget is analyzed, and luckily social media, Squeezy is there, AI is there, Kinatom, we will put out what every line means. And until we reset our budget, currently the budget we have is purely for the rich. And the rich who are not affected by anything. Do you know our hospitals? We've gotten a petition from Kenyatta. People telling us, come audit Kenyatta. Why? Because all money is now collected and goes to the East Central.
Yes.
So there's no money to run operations. So if the generator in Kenyatta switches off, that is allegedly, that is what the petition tells us, and we are going to find out, the babies will die. Because where do you get fuel?
So you must then go back. Essentially, a committee must sit to spend money.
To spend money.
Okay.
But money must also come from outside. There's no kitty.
Within.
But it gets so bad that sometimes hospitals lack stitching thread after an operation. Okay? That is when we are discussing certain perks for people, either in the judiciary, in parliament, in the executive. Something must give. Something, when we say austerity, it means exactly that. The Nairobi County governor cannot be telling us that they're going for a trip to New York. No. We live in a digital space. We can bring you a screen and show you the whole of New York. We will give you all the policies. You give us an angle. You want to be on what street? We will take you there. You want to go to Brickley? We on our computer. All you need is internet.
Yes.
These are the things that must stop. How many times do you see the ministers of China coming here to benchmark? What? And they bring a very small delegation. But those countries are growing. The quality of our leaders, which therefore speaks to the quality of the voters, sadly, is affecting us. And it is the reason we have a ridiculous 4.8 trillion.
All of these things are connected.
Do you reckon that the citizenry make the connection? Are they beginning to make the connection on what their vote means to their future and that of their children?
As I add to that, just on the finance bit kidogo, there's an additional money we are seeking to raise using the finance bill. So you asked a good question, that should now the citizens justified to say that they're rejecting the finance bill? By the way, as a young person, this finance bill is going to affect me more than you. It is seriously going to affect me. And why I would boldly say that some of the provisions there must be deleted or in totality removed. How can we be...
Such as what?
How can we be boxed into paying some of this just to go and fund, for instance, catering services for the deputy president? Or his domestic travel, 88 million going towards such kind of things. When, what Diana said, people are dying in hospitals. The other day, I had a friend who, I think the child came a little bit earlier at Kenyatta, and they had to be taken through incubation. What happens if that generator goes off? The child will die. That is how serious it is. And now the provisions we are being given is you raise money to fund someone who is going to travel to do an arambe somewhere, or to offer catering services to some group of people somewhere. That is seriously insane. Now, on your question on the voters, I think if they didn't understand last year, or first still, if they didn't understand what was in the supplementary in January or in February this year, they have to understand what is in the finance bill and what is in the budget for 2026-2027.
Oh, why? Because the supplementary budget that came January, February, essentially was it's an additional extra to get some more money because it didn't come in the original budget. And those will play out in this same financial year. So if you see something like that happening, then is it an indication of what is to come, or are they separate issues?
It is. They are tied. They are connected, because the numbers that were brought for us in January and February in the supplementary, they have been used to calculate what is in the estimates for 2026, 2027, and also to do projections for the medium term, 2027, 2028, and 2028, 2029. So, if we remain quiet, actually, it is going to affect us beyond this regime. Yeah. So ideally, they are really tied. They are really connected. And if we think it is far off, if by any chance, because I know for sure we are not going to collect 3 trillion in ordinary revenue. If that happens, this is seriously going to affect us, because we are going to borrow. who is going to pay that money?
Borrow more.
Borrow.
Yeah.
And if we are going to borrow, how is that connected to the services that we are going to get?
So you're saying that
Yes.
from what you're projecting,
Yes.
or if 2025, 2026 is any indication, that it's very possible that into 2026, 2027, the Kenya Revenue Authority will not collect 3.8 trillion shillings.
It won't.
It won't
It
not.
won't. It won't. This is so that even the books look manageable. We will not collect the 2.9, almost 3 trillion. We project we may collect 2.7, thereabout 2.75. So we will have a higher deficit. We will then borrow. To make sure we can borrow, the government already has restructured our debt. Restructuring our debt when that we go and talk to, we owe you 2 trillion. Subache, to lipe ka interest kidogo, tuta resume 2032. 2032, 31. Sema, sawa, yora. We kick the can down the road.
Down the road.
Okay? And why we say the youth will be affected, most of our debt has been renegotiated and will kick in 2028 onwards. The bulk of the debt repayment will come back. Where 2031.
Who went, I sound like an owl. Who went and had the conversation about restructuring this debt? Who is that?
You've not had the CS expert, the PS, Treasury,
FCPA.
FCPA, even the previous cabinet secretary. They renegotiated because we needed breathing space. But they just kicked the can down the road, and immediately we renegotiated. We started borrowing
Again.
more.
Yes.
So usually you renegotiate so that you reorder your house.
Yes.
Not
But
that
there was no
because
house reordering that then took place.
No,
Okay.
no. So that's the...
Diana, so were we lied to when we were being told that lazima tuache kuchimba shimo, we must stop borrowing, we must stop borrowing immediately so that we can be able to take care of ourselves? All we did was to renegotiate this, push it further down the road, but continue borrowing. Is it true that Kenyans were literally lied to on the position of debt and what the government would do to help the country deal with the issue?
Yes, and yes. We avoided an express debt default by telling people, allow us to pay in the future. We never changed our borrowing practice. And most of the debt renegotiated is foreign debt. Now we cannot go and borrow outside because with those we have already renegotiated. We now increased our domestic borrowing, which is more expensive. We were not only lied to that we will stop, we expanded our spaces for borrowing. Securitization, we are borrowing.
NIF.
You just call it something that sounds cool.
NIF, we are borrowing. The sovereign
How are you borrowing an NIF?
National Infrastructure Fund. That money is debt. Is debt that we will now not pay through the consolidated fund services. We will pay as we are getting the service. If it's a road service.
No. But you were told KCP, the partial divestiture of government funds in KCP, ownership rather, in KCP was, and we know Uganda gave money, Kenyan investors gave money. We were told that it's going into a fund.
Yeah.
And the fund is supposed to now
that is seed capital. That is seed capital to attract more project financing. Project financing is a loan that goes specifically to a viable commercial project that must bring back revenue. So the divestiture, hata afadhali ingelipa deni ama ijenge classrooms for Kenyans. This is seed capital so that we go back to Dubai, to whichever capital, and tell them, are you able to build for us an airport terminal? Yes, please come in.
Take 100 billion.
Yeah,
or how?
It's the seed capital top up. It gets to 1 trillion. How will we get it back? This is the amount of money we will charge for that particular terminal. You want a road? Yes, we'll build for you. This road always has traffic. The people who do not want traffic when they are going to the village back in Western will use the toll road. They will repay. We will get back our revenue. So it's still debt. It is still debt in every form and manner. Is that the type of development that we want? And as we do that, not all roads can be told. It's okay.
No,
don't
it's
take
not.
Canada.
It's because I'm looking at this debt as you're just explaining it, right? So we have NIF, we've taken all these debts where we pay using our toll and everything. And I'm assuming all this debt is tied to a certain period. I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong. That means if within that period we've not been able to pay back this individual, does it automatically become the debt that then goes back to consolidated fund?
Yeah.
Dennis anauliza pesa ya KPC kwa wapi?
Pesa ya KPC?
Si pesa ya KPC. Wacha kwanza. So, we have used infrastructure fund as the guarantee upon which someone has constructed the Rironi Road, right? It is pegged
that's the plan.
That's the plan,
Yeah.
right?
Yes. Yeah.
Then it is pegged on, it shall be paid within 30 years.
Yeah.
After 30 years and you've not been able, that debt has not been paid, does it go back to then again, all of us to then pay?
Yes.
So that means it is just another debt in waiting.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's another debt in waiting. So the youth especially wait for you will pay.
You will pay,
You
yes.
will pay. So if you don't stop them now, you will really, really pay. And actually, I happened to sit on a panel with an economic advisor, and he explained this is where money is whoever invests decides the project.
Yeah.
So we will not, the usual public participation, not on NIF, okay? But we shall be here. We shall stop things we don't like. Then they can decide. But it's that painful and costly. But let me bring this other context. You've seen the way there is the issue of children being abandoned. The close to 7,000.
Yeah.
Then those who are being
10,000
cumulatively abduction.
Yes.
But also all this is based on we passed a policy that we need to close children's home. Government can't be taking care of children. But we become so negligent that 10,000 children get abandoned and missing. And it is not, we have not seen a presidential address on it. Children disappear to that extent. In this budget, what are we doing to protect those children? Look at what is happening in families as a result. The levels of violence. It is all linked to this particular extractive budget and taxation. If Kenyans take nothing else, even the bank that is profiting a lot from the loans is saying, we can't do this anymore. We live in this country. The few bonuses I will get as somebody who works in the financial sector is not commensurate to the harm we will have caused the country. Now, we keep saying we will get a haircut. The day a haircut comes, a haircut means we will say we are not paying bills and bonds for this particular period. And if your bond was valued at 100, we have valued it at 40. You lose this.
No
Pension
question,
funds,
no
question.
I beg. Okay.
What will happen to our banks? Pensioners, they will have lower incomes in a more difficult time. That is what is about to come. And under the new constitution, the cabinet secretary should not be reading the budget. He should not be wasting our time carrying a briefcase.
Repeat, please.
Under the Constitution 2010, the budget is passed by Parliament. It is already there on the website.
Kenyans already reading it.
Yes, this other ceremony is like reciting a Bible verse that is already written. The budget is already written. It is now time for Kenyans to analyze it and engage with members of Parliament on the few tweaks and changes that are required. Secondly, I know Parliament has communicated that they close hearing today.
Yes.
But the likes of the people based organizations, churches, Okoa Uchumi, our date is 29th. So kujeni tupeleke maoni parliament on both the finance bill and the budget. Because if we do not, power only listens to numbers. It listens to fellow power. Sisi, are we trillionaires? No. Are we billionaires? No. But we have our numbers.
Power listens to numbers.
Yes. So please let us send memoranda in our numbers. Let's show up before both the Budget and Appropriation Committee as well as the Finance and Planning Committee in our numbers.
Okay, I want to come back to the National Infrastructure Fund and where essentially that money goes, because all of this ties in. But before that, I know that there were questions, and you're also giving that, CTA now about what you can do to come out and make your views heard. And that can be based on some of the things that we've spoken about this morning, or some of the things that you've heard, or even if you're totally confused, that can be, I am totally confused. What does this all mean?
Yeah.
And actually say that. So in terms of where this can actually go, submissions for the finance bill are sent to the Clerk of the National Assembly. That is CNA. CNA at Parliament. That is, the N is November, Alpha at parliament.go.ke. CNA at parliament.go.ke. You can copy it to clerk.nationalassembly at parliament.go.ke. If you write a letter and send it by carrier pigeon, P.O. Box 41842 -00100 Nairobi, Kenya. That is to the Clerk of the National Assembly, P.O. Box 41842-00100. Remember also that you need to identify yourself when you are sending this. Just say what it is that you need to say in relation to the finance bill. Be specific, reference specific clauses. Clause 15 regarding VAT on digital services. Explain your support or objection. Otherwise, it will be thrown out. Explain the reason why you are supporting and or rejecting. And also provide alternatives is what they say. If you object a tax, for example, suggest an alternative way for the government to meet its revenue targets, for example. That's what they're asking you to do. And you can also show up at public participation places. TISA is doing one. There are a number. I believe that the public submissions are closing today. But there are other options for you to do this. So folks were asking, that is it. If you're doing it from the comfort of your home, where you're sending an email, again, the email is CNA at parliament.go.ke or clerk.nationalassembly at parliament.go.ke. All right. So we can do that, and we'll send a reminder about what that's about. Please. You can be involved in this. When we talk about citizen-centered governance, this is what we are talking about. When you have an understanding, or even if you have total confusion about what is going on, ask questions so that this governance is actually sorted out. Okay, Diana and Tom at some point here. The National Infrastructure Fund, right? The Cabinet Secretary, interestingly enough, sat where you were sitting and told us that an organizational structure would then be established for the NIF. And the funds that came from partial divestiture of the shares, of government shares, in KPC or any other publicly listed company that they wanted to, make use of, would go to, there would be a bank account, there would be a CEO, there are people, because he said, government is bad at doing business, too much bureaucracy, too much. That's why they needed that to be done. Now, some of that has already happened. In terms of where you're going to get money for development, this thing that Tom is saying, no, absorption is very low. For up to now, they have a solution. And they're saying, we will form a company where we can be assured that this absorption problem that we talk about in budgets gone by will not be an issue anymore. And we build Kenya, those things. KPC has happened to the tune of 104+ billion shillings. The company is yet to be established, the CEO and all those people. So where did this money go?
Okay. I could go. The minute we first we began, the sequence was Government-Owned Enterprises Act. This is a law that was to provide for how companies that are owned by government will be administered, and they are under the Cabinet Secretary Treasury and under the Government-Owned Enterprises Act. The Cabinet Secretary works closely with the AG to regulate.
Okay.
He's in charge of all government-owned enterprises. Thereafter, we set up the Privatization Act that says, how do we go about privatizing government-owned enterprises? Again, who is the person in charge of regulating and protecting privatization? The Cabinet Secretary.
Okay.
No, it doesn't go to Parliament. He's really in charge.
Okay.
Whether the next time it's a she, it's the Cabinet Secretary who is in charge.
Okay.
Then we set up the National Infrastructure Fund.
Yes.
The Cabinet Secretary sits on the council. He then appoints the board.
Yes.
He's the one who presents what is to be he's presented to the investment plan. He looks and says whether it's reasonable. Then he reports to Parliament. Is it once a year?
Yes, once a year.
Once a year. So the National Infrastructure Fund that has all this oversight is just the Cabinet Secretary being the prosecutor, the jury,
the judge,
the judge, the benefactor, everything. Everything. Other infrastructure funds that are set up are so independent from Treasury.
Oh, they should be.
They should be.
Okay.
Their line should only go to the central bank where they run an account. Essentially, they ought to report to the Parliament. And their appointment ought to go to Parliament. In this case, it's just the Cabinet Secretary. They are saying we need to cancel the noise. Money must come in quietly, and you Kenyans are noisy. Is that what we mean by good governance? I am not sure. We've not recruited.
Yeah, because if he puts it out for all of you people to talk, you're making too much noise.
Too much noise.
Right.
Money runs
silently.
straight into silently, trillions. Now, when that money was we asked during the public participation, when we appeared, we were told the money will go to the consolidated fund. Okay?
Okay.
Because we've not, the Parliament, by the time we even did the divestiture of Safaricom, there was no National Infrastructure Fund.
No.
At all. Okay? Right now, I am not sure because the accounting officer for the National Infrastructure Fund is it a CEO?
Supposed to be a CEO.
Yes.
Yeah.
They have not recruited. So without an accounting officer, that money goes to the consolidated fund.
Okay.
When it hits there, it's no longer National Infrastructure Fund.
money.
It's consolidated fund. Again, the entire sequence in the PFM is followed. The first charge, debt. The second one,
Recurrent,
presidential. Then recurrent and so on. Whereas all this is supposed to, the priority ought to be national interest, then debt, then government priorities and so on. But we have never defined that for ourselves.
So you're saying the money from KPC has already gone?
If their debt obligation, how do you...